Good evening, everyone. We are glad to welcome you at the Biomechanics Contemporary Music Festival. And today we have the second concert presentation, our new format. And today we will glad to introduce you our second guest, composer Mihaëля Байля. And our meeting today will be structured in 3 movements. So the first part will be the interview with Mihaël. It will be moderated by Tatyana Yakovleva. She's a musicologist. And after that, the CEAM Artists ensemble will perform some of his pieces. And then you can answer your questions, and I will help you with the microphone because today we have transmission, and I will help you to translate your question if it will be in Russian. So enjoy the evening, and I'll pass the microphone to Tatyana, and very happy to introduce you Mihaëля Байля. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina, for your help and for your introducing part. And of course, I want to say thank you to Center of Electroacoustic Music for this festival and for making all of this possible. And I'm very glad to see everyone here on the Biomechanics Festival. Thank you for coming. And of course, we are on a stream, and it's nice to know that we can be heard and seen in different parts of our country and other countries too. And here with us, we have Mihaëля Байля, a terrific German composer, multimedia artist, professor in Cologne Hochschule für Musik und Tanz, and he also heads the electronic music studio. Yeah. Mihaël, my greetings. It's nice to see you here on our meeting on concert today. It's a pleasure to have you here. Yeah.
Hello, Tatyana. Hello, everybody. Hello, Biomechanics Festival in Moscow. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be with you tonight. When I'm right, I was asked to introduce my 2 pieces a little bit shortly, right?
I think it will be a bit later. I'll start it from some questions about your compositional style, and then we talk about your pieces too, of course.
Okay.
I would like to start our conversation from your piece, String Jack. It was performed a few days ago on the festival, and in this composition I saw at least 3 ideas which I think are important for you in general. The first one, it is about the sound, rich, dense sound and sometimes fast. And I heard that racing, cars and speed had an influence on you. Could you tell us a bit about this place?
Okay, I will start with the racing track, because I grew up in a little town in Germany called Hockenheim. And in Hockenheim, there is the Grand Prix races of the Formula 1 cars. And when I was young, I was with my father at the races each weekend. And this was a very early sound impression I had, and maybe this influenced my work. But besides, for a very long time, normally I make a joke, the concerts should be loud enough so that people can open a bottle of beer and drink some. So I really like louder music, but my music also has some soft passages. So people have to pay attention when they open the bottle.
Yeah. Yes, it's true, it's true. Yeah. The second thing, it is about quotation from some popular classic music. For example, in your piece String Jack, it was The Swan by Camille Saint-Saëns. And you tend to use quotation a lot in your compositions. It is not just you, of course, who use familiar materials in music today. It is a common thing, part of our reality. But the different composers, it means different things, and they do it in different ways. And I think in your case, it is not just quotations. It is something more than that. That's why I'd like to ask you about this topic. Why do you use borrowed material? What do you use usually? And how do you work with that?
Okay, thanks, Tatjana. Very important and very good question. And I think it's interesting for all the composers and listeners all over the world. Actually, I have to say two important things about this topic. On one hand, I think that as composers, we are not geniuses that work from the nothing. We always start from somewhere. We all have our influences from our musical influences. And when we work, even if we try not to use music from other composers, we anyway do it. So why shouldn't we do it openly? But on the other hand, of course, we have to do this with the biggest respect. When the composers are still living, maybe I call them or I ask them via email, can I use this or that passage from your piece? I really like it. So I only use passages from other music I really like, from all over the music history. It can be Mozart, Beethoven today. And it can also be living composers, pop music, especially house music, what I like a lot. And the second thing that is very important regarding this topic is the fact that I think when you use something, it has to see a transformation in your piece. So when I use an obvious citation from another piece, it has to become in my piece a new thing. It has to have a new connotation. It has to enter a new world. And for me, it's very interesting when people can recognize a quotation in my piece, but at the same time, they have the feeling it's something new. So that's actually my aim. I don't know if I'm good enough, but I hope very much.
Yeah, with Sensans, you were really great, and of course we can recognize this. Yeah, I often think about this topic, and yes, all this classical music is a common thing for us, and we can recognize it. But then maybe your music or music by your colleagues will be a classic. And how the next generation of composers will use it? Is this possible, like the second step of quotation? Do you ever thought about this, anything?
Well, when I was younger, quotation was a no-go in contemporary music. You just couldn't do it without getting into trouble. Today, it's okay. Some people think it's good. Some people think maybe we shouldn't do it. But I think in 10 years, it's just a thing everybody does. And then we will live in a post-quotation era where everybody has done it and nobody talks about it. We just do it. That's my thought for the future in this topic.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Actually, if I may add one thing, for the composition of string check, which is also mainly about the question, what does cello playing mean? Today, I just filled in cello solo in Google and on YouTube. And then I got at first the swan. And second piece was the vocalise. And all the other pieces that pop up in string check are the top 10 cello pieces in the world.
Yeah, I think it's true, of course. Yeah. And the third thing about your piece, this piece, but I think it may be the main aspect of you. It is an idea that I think can be called digital duplication, like video duplication. And what I mean by that is on the screen, in your pieces, we always see some people. Sometimes it is musicians who are already playing on a stage. In this particular case, it was cellist Yulia Migunova. And sometimes it is a recording. And performance and digital doppelgangers often do something else except playing the instrument, like walking or turning heads or something. And I would like to ask you about this digital duplication. Can we call it an aesthetical approach, or it is a more technical thing for you, or what is it? Yeah.
Actually, it's a mean to confuse people. When I started working with video, I worked very much with what you call duplication. I like to call it doubling. The Latin word is redundancy. Redundancy means that you have two things, and one of them is not really necessary. And actually, in the field of art or contemporary music, we should avoid redundancy. But if you, as an artist, use redundancy in an exaggerated and very obvious way, people start thinking about it. They see something on stage, and then they see it in the video, and they think, okay, it's the same thing, it's boring. And that's the point where I try to get them, because then, shortly later, it still seems to be the same thing, but it isn't. So they start to be surprised. First, they get bored because it's obvious and forbidden and everybody knows it. And then suddenly there's a slight difference. So it's not the same thing. Or it's kind of impossible, like the cello player watching himself. It's also popping up in the keychain piece later, that there's an interaction with the video. The real instrumentalists seem to play together with the video player, and actually that's not possible. So that's the world I'm working in for a too long time, maybe. I always try to stop that, and then I find still interesting aspects I want to follow, and maybe in 10 years.
I think it's about attention, people attention on the concert, and I think it is. Yeah?
Very important. Yeah. As artists or in working in the time flow, we have to keep the attention. That's something contemporary music composers sometimes forget.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, and my next question about technical delay in live video. When a video on a stage, we see performer on a screen 1 second later, sometimes from time to time. Do you think about delay in your pieces? Do you maybe program this effect sometimes?
No, I program to avoid this effect by delaying the recording. So when I make a recording of something that happens on stage, the recording starts a bit too late. Then when I play it back, it's in time. And I never use live image.
Okay.
Because live image is delayed, and that's a bit awkward. Of course, there's newest, very expensive technique where you don't have any delay, but I can't afford this. When I can afford it in the future, then I will use live image as well.
Okay, okay. And you have a lot of video effects in your pieces in general. And maybe do you have some favorites or what you like more? And if you have, maybe why?
Actually, I really never use video effects in my pieces. It's only recording and playback. But there's one single piece I did last year in Berlin with a lot of video effects, just to try out what happens when I use video effects. But I was very careful with using them, because you quickly get excited at home with all these effects, and then you sit in the concert and you see, oh my God, it's so cheesy. I shouldn't have used it. So I'm at the moment just starting to step into the world of video effects. I didn't want to correct you. Maybe you feel that.
I mean these backward effects. Actually, I told about this. I mean it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's for me. That's not an effect. For me, that's playback. So I use manipulation of time. That's one way to surprise people in the concert when something is running quicker or slower. That's what happens a lot in the piece for piano and flute that's coming today. Especially like recording something very slow and then speeding it up, and in the sped up way, then it's the original tempo, so that people have the impression that the tempo is the real tempo, the good tempo, but at the same time it looks too fast. How can that be? Or something looks too slow, but it isn't slow. So how is that possible? And then when I combine this, sometimes in split screens with several videos at the same time, it can be very nice confusion from my view. So sorry, when you meant this, it's also, you can call it effect. I thought you speak about this
something.
stuff, facts or points.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and if you talk about video, can I maybe you are a fan of cinematography, like in this type of art? I mean, movies. Maybe you can name some directors whose work you like, maybe you admire.
Okay, I'm a bit older. When I started, it was David Lynch, was the most interesting director those days in the 80s, 90s. He worked also a lot with backwards stuff in a TV series called Twin Peaks. I don't know if you know it because you are.
Yes, I know. I really like it.
Okay. So that's one of my idols. And besides, I'm watching a lot of cinema, but I wouldn't say that I'm inspired by cinema movies anymore at the moment. Oh. Just like them, but I don't get much inspiration from it.
Okay. You know, musicians see in your works the principle of a composer polyphonist with different polyphonic techniques. I mean, canons, imitations, retrograde, and so on. Would it be correct to say that you think all of these elements like polyphonic voices? I mean, multimedia, this stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Polyphony, yes, but not in the Baroque way, but in the Impressionist way. I see polyphony not as a fugue or something like in music theory exercises, but I see it as layers. So musical things that happen at the same time and that fit together, like in a good piece by Claude Debussy, for example.
Okay, wow.
Or like in a good piece by Sergei Rachmaninoff, for example. Yeah. Because I am in the key check piece, I'm citing a piece by Rachmaninoff. I hope that I say the name in the right way.
Yes, it's fantastic.
It's a piano duo, a suite for two pianos or piano four hands. Yeah. And it's a very impressionist piece with different layers. And I make these layers audible by distributing it to the different alter egos, the doppelganger of the pianist in the piece, if you mean that. Yeah. And of course, I am a maniac with polyphony. Yeah. Also retrograde polyphony. I once made an orchestra piece that's played forward and backwards at the same time, but I really did care about what is together. And so I have to compose from both sides at the same time, and it's very complicated if you like harmony. So
yes, I see it. how complicated is this stuff, and it's impressed me a lot actually how you do this. Yeah, and my next question will be about you, like as a compositional professor. It seems to me that there may be a problem today in deciding what exactly to teach a student in composition. Do you have any universal methods, or do you adjust your approach for each individual student? What do you think about this? I mean, about how to decide what exactly to teach?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, that's a difficult question. Of course, today there's no style anymore, composition style. That's not existing. If there was a style, I wouldn't teach it, because I think that's a bad teacher who forces the student to copy his own style. That was maybe 200 years ago the case. I'm also not such a big fan of doing copies and music theory studies. That's very important in the beginning to learn how to work with instruments. That's important. For me, teaching is to carefully kick the students out of their comfort zone. So when students arrive, they have a certain age. Some of them are already kind of ready. Some are starting. With the starting students, you have to be more careful. With the Russian students that had already a lot of lessons in Russia, you have to be more pushy to get them out to what they are used to to just use the time of studying to make new experiences, to move maybe to other directions, to try out things they didn't dare to try out, just to see that it's not the thing. And mostly with trying out different things, they get maybe to the thing they really want. And that's what you need in life as a composer. You need to find something you are really enthusiastic about, so that you are motivated to work. If you don't find that, you will lose motivation. So the biggest success with a student is when you can find this, something a student is excited about.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's important questions today, and I just for like a joke, I decided to ask ChatGPT about this and what he think about this, what's absolutely necessary for each compositional student, and he told me 5 tasks that everyone needs, which is music theory, ear training, notation skills, listening skills, it's about musical vocabulary, the diverse, and critical thinking. Do you agree with that? Can you
Only the last.
Only the last one.
I had a lot of struggle with the music theory colleagues because we had very difficult entry exams where the students do have to be very good with ear training and music theory and fugue writing and all that stuff. But today we have computers.
Yeah,
so we even don't need the inner ear. We can just use the computer to help us with listening to an idea we want to realize. So, of course, you need some skills. Of course, you need to be able to write notes, to write the notes down. But I have even students that don't write so much, and they can work with the musicians on ideas. And it's not just improvisation; it can also be composition. So I'm a bit more open than compared to ChatGPT.
Yes, I think it's great that you more open-minded. Okay, and the last it's about you and about. I'm sorry, about what do you think about our reality and your music? Do you want to be close for our reality in your music, for maybe for our world or for our people, something like this? Do you think about this stuff?
Yeah, that's what I tell the students every day. Because in the classical music, we have always been a bit far away from pop music, even against pop music or separating from the music for normal people. But that was in the before last century. So I think today we have to be very open towards all kinds of music, to know it and to see what other people do. And we should not be too up-nosy about, let's say, techno music or even pop music, because there's very good pop music. Look at the songs of Billie Eilish, for example. I just heard one today. It's such great music. And I have full respect for musicians who try to do experiments in all the fields. Actually, I think sometimes that in other fields of music, there's more experimenting at the moment than in the contemporary music field. I think there can be maybe more an effort to get things adapted to our. The answer is yes.
It's great. Okay, and let's move on to the next step, the presentation of your works that will be performed at today's concert. Let's start with the piece K. Jane for a pianist, video and electronic. Could you describe your ideas of this piece, please?
Yes, of course. Actually, the 2 pieces you hear today are totally different in my work. Keycheck is the endpoint of a long development where I tried out several aspects of what I call the separation of sound and movement for sound. That means that if a violin player plays a note, there's a movement to play the note, and then at the same time there's the sound. But in our world today, this doesn't have to be the same time. In pop music, for a long time, we have what we call playback. So in the concerts, the singer, they don't sing. They hold a microphone and fade. But in reality, it's a tape. In classical music, this would be impossible. You would never go to a string quartet concert where the string quartet is only moving and the sound comes, the music comes out of loudspeakers. That wouldn't make sense. But nevertheless, just dealing with this reality topic, so how people change at the moment with the notion of reality, I try to use playback passages in my pieces. I started this in 2012 with a piece called Blackjack, where musicians walk around and sit down somewhere and they seem to play, but in reality, it's the colleagues playing for them. And I wanted to try out how people would react, if they become angry or if they like it. And actually, most people, let's say half of the people didn't notice, and the other half liked it. So it was a big success for me. Yeah. And then afterwards, I tried to get more and more radical with this. And in the end, I made the piece called Key Jack or Key Jane when a woman is playing it. And in this piece, there is no real sound. There's only movement on stage, and the whole music is from tape, and it's even artificial, so it's MIDI. I was kind of worried again for the first performance of this piece, and I thought, oh, maybe people get angry and they say, I bought a ticket and the pianist didn't play a single note on the piano. But it was actually really a good reaction of the people. They found it very interesting, and also the pianist discussing about the fingering, and very important in the piece is the face expression of the player, because the player is doubled again 2 times. So we have the same player 3 times, and there's, as I described before, an interaction, playing together or a separation in different layers of the piece. So the whole reality thing and the separation thing is very concentrated or focused in this piece. Besides, it's a piece about piano playing. So what is piano playing? Featuring the basic techniques like scale, chord, repetition, passage.
Training every time.
Yes, it's what the pianist has to do. And you will see it in the piece in the beginning, and then the piano is kind of extended, so there's more notes on the piano, lower notes, higher notes. The pianist can play microtonal melodies without any problem because there's no piano. And then it gets into the layers of the Rachmaninoff. I don't have to explain it, you will see it. There's also a little singing passage, famous song called Ebony and Ivory, and it's about piano playing the black keys and the white keys. It was a pop song performed by Lionel Richie and Elton John. I don't know, I don't remember, but a black pianist, a black singer and a white singer sitting at the piano playing piano. So Ebony and Ivory, and that's kind of the anthem of piano playing. So I thought this would be the right place for this song in the piece.
Yeah.
So that's it, basically. I hope that's good for having.
It's great, yes. I think we will see how our audience to these pieces, this piece. And maybe a couple of words about the second piece, Die Zwei piece, and the second piece.
Okay, as I said, it's very special. Behind me, you see a drawing by Gerhard Richter. Gerhard Richter is a
fantastic painter, yeah.
Yes, a famous German painter who started in the 60s in the German pop art movement. I really adore his paintings. I really like them. And what I especially like, or everybody likes, is the blurred copy of a photo. So there's copying, actually. And in the copying, there's a certain process that takes place, and this is the process of transformation. And process of transformation is the focus of the postmodern kind of pop art. So, you know, Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, taking something from the real work and putting it in the museum by changing it a bit. So I thought I would just try this once for Gerhard Richter and for my enthusiasm about this transformation thing. I thought about what piece could I use, and then I thought I use the Beethoven because it's provoking in Germany to use one part of a Beethoven string quartet and transform it in a kind of cheesy piece that sounds much too nice. And actually, I was really offended after the first rehearsal. Some other composers told me, "You cannot do this."
Wow.
Our Beethoven and stuff. Today, the reaction is not so hard anymore. So what did I do? I took 10 recordings of the string quartet movement. I made a version for flute solo, where the flute player had to play the cello with the piccolo flute and the first violin with a bass flute. And then I put together the whole string quartet, which took me 2 weeks of really whole day work. It was insane. So there's a flute version, there's a backwards piano version, there's a 2 fast version of the string quartet for piano and flute, and all in different layers, as I described. And then the actual composition is making some of the layers louder and softer, putting them in the foreground and in the background, whereas the piece is like the piece is. So the 10 versions of real string quartets, I all made them the length of the Alban Berg quartet version. So all the versions have the same length. They start with the right note and end with the right chord, but in between, it's getting blurred.
Yeah, it's something like your backyard. Yeah, and about
That's it.
And can you tell a bit about video? What it will be performed today?
Yeah, as I said, there's one version for piano and violin, piano and flute from this string quartet movement. It's kind of 5 times speed, very fast, and a piano player and a flute player have to play it, and then I made it slow. And the same thing happens in the video. So the 2 players play this version of the quartet very fast, and I record it. And afterwards, this record. So as I described, it looks slow, but it is the right tempo. How can it be? And well, I can always use the old version of the sound because nobody can say who is playing. But for the video, of course, all the musicians have to make the new video, but I like that because then they have to do something before the concert,
Dealing. They have to.
Yes.
I heard it will be not 5 times, but 2 times they use in this case.
Totally okay.
Yeah, okay. I think we can start our concert. Thank you for our conversation, Michael. It was nice. And we will come back to later after the concert part. And now I think we can just switch off our video. And then after concert, we continue. Yeah?
Cool. Thanks, Tatjana.
Thank you.
Have fun, everybody. See you later.
Yeah, thank you. Это были наши артисты CEAM Artists, Федося Миронова фортепиано и Мария Корякина флейта. Поблагодарим еще раз. Okay, Михаэль, are you here? Can you hear us? Yeah?
Hello, can you hear me?
It's every time so wonderful view with you. Yeah,
Sorry,
thank you.
just a second, I have to stop the...
Yeah, okay.
I had still the video feed running, and then there's two times.
Yeah.
So at first, thank you to Fedosia and Maria for the great performances. I really liked it. It's the first time I see the piece with an upright piano. I really like it. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you again for our performance. And this part for audience, you can ask something what you want to Mihаэль. And I just start this discussion when you're thinking what you want to ask. About the first piece, Jane, and at the beginning of this piece, we can hear a synthesized voice. And it reminds me a bit Ablinger speaking piano. Do you thought about this? Did you think about this or not? How?
Okay. Yes, you are right. Ablinger made a series of pieces called Piano and Voice, where he represents a certain talk of a famous person with piano sounds. And what I do in the piece is just the same. So it's also a form of quotation to just use this technique that Ablinger did not discover, by the way, because that's transformation of voice or speech into music is a very long topic. So already Beethoven thought about it in his string quartets. He said it's like four people discussing with each other.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And my second question about when you finished your composition, then can you hear something else in your music? But you know which quotation you use, but maybe sometimes you can hear something else, because I am. It's interesting.
That's a tricky question. Can you explain more what you mean?
Yes, of course. In the piece Die Zwei, when I heard it the first time, I thought, oh, maybe it's a Mahler piece, his Adagietta. Oh, no. Maybe it's Mozart here. No, it's impossible. And that's why when I realized it's Beethoven quartet, it was surprise to me that it's just it without anything else. And that's why I decided to ask you, maybe you can hear something else after you composed your piece.
Actually, as I did the piece, I know what it is, so I never feel insecure about it. So, not really. No, I'm sorry. I have to say no. But there's always a big discussion after the pieces because people think that they recognize something and then it isn't in the piece, or they mix up the name of the composers or something.
Yeah, and the last question from me about the piano. Actually, it's not from me, it's my friend who a pianist, and he wants to ask you about when you composed this piece, K. Jane, do you really practice on a piano, real piano, when you think about this piece, or how do you do this?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm also a pianist. I studied piano when I was young. And I don't need to try it on the piano because I need what's playable and not. But actually, a lot of pianists who perform the piece, they practice the piece on piano before, so that it looks very close to the real piano playing. But I myself, I tried out the whole video thing. So I recorded myself here in my studio at home. Playing on a board with changing the heads. So that's what I tried. I tried really in detail that everything is working in time. because the piece is very complicated. If it's not really good, the syncing with the movements, it can be awkward. Thanks again to Feodosia, who does a really good job with the piece. She's very good.
Yeah, actually, if we have Feodosia here, I want to ask her about her feeling about this piece. I mean, how it is to play just on this board without a... but I don't know, she's here or not.
She's already at home.
No, with teleport, I think.
Yes, boom.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe later she will be here, and I think we can start our discussion with our audience, and it will be nice to if you can ask something to Michael. You can do it, and here's Irina, and she can give you some mic, and you can use it. But I just can't see you. Yeah. Something, maybe replica comments, maybe your feelings about the pieces, maybe like me, you can hear something else, not just what was written.
I can start with the question.
Okay, thank you.
So my question is about, so thank you, Mihaël, for your pieces and for your music. It's just beautiful experience every time when I watch these pieces. And my question is about the role of musician, because when I watching your performances of your pieces, I'm thinking about the art of illusion, and for me it's something that's related to the medieval musicians that could dance, make music. They were poets, they were illusionists, dancers, and etc. And I think that you are rethinking this presentation of musician by multimedia. Is it correct to think about your music and musicians in your music like in medieval practice?
Okay. That's many questions at the same time. Thank you very much, especially for that comment with the medieval age, because I didn't even think about it. But now, when you say it, it's definitely something that might be important. Of course, the musician, especially in DJing, has a very important role, getting back into the focus on the stage, because actually, I started many years ago with thinking about what's going on the classical stage. It's always the same. The musicians all dress the same, come on stage, sit down and start playing. And then they go off. It's a ritual. It's not bad. It's for sure boring, but people are used to it and they don't put it in question. So I wondered what would happen when I just exaggerate it, not avoid it, like going to other concert halls, like industrial buildings, but staying on stage, but doing it differently by doubling it. That's my way of doing it. Tatjana named it, so you know what I mean. Like entering on stage, and then you sit down, and then they stand up again and enter again. Like in some of my pieces, this happens. So people in the audience start thinking about entering. In a normal classical concert, nobody would think about musicians coming on stage. But if they do it several times, it becomes artificial. And that can be applied to everything that takes place on a classical stage. And that's my playground. And the side effect is that the musicians that normally hide behind their instruments, when they have no instruments, they are suddenly there. They have to think about their clothing, they have to think about their face expression, about the hats they use, about how do I walk? Does it look good how I walk, or does it look strange? How do I sit? Do I sit upright, or do I sit like this? And all that things. So there are maybe things that musicians had to be able to do former times, like in the medieval age, because they had more tasks besides playing, like also talking and dancing and thinking about things, making jokes and all of this. And now they are getting back into that situation. But for me, it's very important that they are not actors, and I cannot expect from the musicians to play like an actor. And actually, I don't want that. I just want them to be normal human beings, like they are musicians on stage. But thank you very much for that hint with the medieval age. That's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikael. And we have some questions at the stream. So, composer Anton Svetlichny, maybe you know, asking about multi-screen practices that were popular from Peter Greenaway, later movies, to YouTube artists who record covers in ensemble with themselves. And do you address to these practices in the pieces? And what do you think about them?
Okay, actually it's called split screen. So we have several screens with different things going on inside the screens. There was an era in cinema when this was en vogue, and several experimental directors tried it. And I think it didn't work for cinema because people are overwhelmed. They can easily listen to music with 5 layers because music is melting. So what you listen to is just one thing, even though it consists of many polyphonic voices. But if you have many images at the same time, you get stressed. So I have to pay attention very much. I'm working with overwhelming people, but I always take care that it is not too much or that it is too much, because I can work with the reaction while watching, always keeping people a bit stressed. So that, as I described some minutes ago, like at first there's something that you can easily understand, and then it gets a bit too complicated in the context, and then you start thinking about it. But if it gets too complicated, then you stop thinking. So I have a small path in between boring and too much to go with split screen video. And split screen means divided screen with different videos. Key check, I wouldn't call a split screen video, because here you have 3 persons. So I want people to forget about the video projection and to think that there are three persons there. I have other pieces like Caravan, where I work with like MTV technique, like music videos formerly with split screen and 4 videos at the same time, like an effect. Like you said, Tatiana, it's a real effect, presentation effect. But keychain is not an effect. I hope very much that people forget. They see not 3 boards, but 1 long board. They see not 3 times the same person, but 3 different persons, and they just forget about the video.
Okay.
So we have a question from our audience.
Okay.
Здравствуйте, добрый вечер. Михаил из Москвы. Скажите, вы сказали, что вам нравится хаус, мьюзик и техно. Вы часто ли сейчас ходите на фестивали электронной музыки, клубы электронные? И как-то это влияет, видимо, на ваше творчество, потому что диджеинг — это же то же самое, в общем, в чем-то. Что вы делаете?
Okay, it was our Michael, is the same name. From
Hello, Michael.
And he wondered about your interest in house and techno music, and he wanted to know about maybe you go sometimes to the festival of this type of music, if you had some influence by this type of music.
What type of music?
Techno, house, etc. Electronic music.
Okay. Yes. Well, I'm in an age I don't go dancing each Saturday because people watch me. But of course, I went to clubs, and of course, I'm very much interested in dance music. I make a strict separation between techno and house because I'm a house fan. Actually, I always was a house fan. Not so much drum and bass. Drum and bass is more, there's a bigger experimental scene in drum and bass, and therefore I should be a fan of drum and bass, but I don't like it so much. I'm interested. I know, of course, the guys like FX Twin and the guys who do very complicated, even the breakcore scene with Venetian snares and his followers. But my enthusiasm is for house music, especially the 90s, the early 90s house music. Okay. Today, the acid became a bit too nice. I think. Too nice from outside.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And maybe some another question. Yeah, I can give you.
Michael, good evening, and thank
Hello.
you for this conversation and your music. It's a big pleasure. And my question is, what is more important for you in conceptual dimension? Is it work with time, or maybe work with multimedia as a technology, or maybe musicians as as human body, or maybe it's some mix?
Okay. I already mentioned that I think we live in a post-digital time, so working with media is just the normal thing. Actually, everybody should do that. You can't go anywhere without looking into a video. So any event in the world outside besides classical concerts shows video. For me, it's just a normal thing. All the media possibilities like internet, video, and other stuff are just there. I can use it or not, and I don't have to put it in question. So when I started, maybe 20, 30 years ago, people asked me questions. Why do you use video? We don't need it. It's disturbing. We want music. But today, nobody asks about it. It's just over. So that's the first part of the question. I think multimedia is just normal. The time question is more interesting because I think the most difficult thing at the moment for composer is form. Because especially in contemporary music, we focused for a very long time on sound. The special playing techniques, electronic sounds, field recording sounds, now the new little synthesizer things, they all buy sounds. But what about form? We composers didn't discuss about form, let's say, for 50 years. When I was young, it was already kind of over. There's no discussion about how could you make a piece, how could you evolve a piece in time, how long should a piece be, why are all the contemporary music pieces 10 to 12 minutes? There's no 2 minutes pieces. There are some 30 minutes pieces now because it's en vogue to do long pieces. But the form thing, length, surprises, all that's related to form is very important, I think, at the moment. I hope I hit the question.
Yeah, yes, I hope yes. Yeah.
Did
or maybe
I?
you can. Yeah. No.
You can
okay.
ask back if I got it wrong.
Okay. She's good.
Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you. Maybe some another questions here, yeah.
Можно я по-русски?
Да.
Спасибо большое за музыку, это было очень здорово. Но я хотела бы продолжить, на самом деле, вопрос Насти, потому что мне кажется, что в этих работах очень много внимания вот именно что как раз к выступлению. И есть ли какие-то, может быть, не знаю, в общем, какие-то идеалы, не знаю, или ориентиры вот, в перформансе, на которые вы опираетесь. Вот, спасибо.
Okay. She told she was impressed by your music again, and she wants to continue this question about. She told it's many attention on this performance we need when you see this music, when you listen to this music. And have you some ideals or maybe some goals or orienteers when you compose this?
One goal, we already said it, is to keep the attention, to make people be surprised. I love it when people laugh in concerts, but not laughing like somebody make a joke, but laughing like, oh my God, I didn't expect that. And when people laugh like this, that makes me very happy, because then I see that they are following, that they are really into it. That makes me the most happy, to see people just being interested and concentrating, no matter what their background is. It can be music specialists, but it can also be young people, old people who are not musicians. I enjoy when they enjoy. So, but of course, as a composer, you can't plan it. If we could, we would be entertainer composer, and we do art, so we can really plan what's going on. But when we are honest, we can plan it a little bit, because we have a lot of experience. We know how people think normally, so we can plan a bit the reaction. So actually, I really like to, that's my first line thing, to always keep in mind, is this interesting for someone or not? Is this too long for someone or not? Of course, these questions are very difficult to answer. But if you do work as a composer over the years, of course, you get experience. And actually, I really follow that very much.
Okay.
Я чуть-чуть уточню, я разговорилась. Я имела в виду вопрос насчет, наверное, истории, например, перформанса, потому что когда я смотрела первую как раз композицию, мне казалось, что здесь тоже есть какие-то отсылки или возможные ориентиры вот именно в истории перформанса, и даже в некотором смысле это было похоже на танец. То есть, возможно, здесь тоже есть какой-то интерес к танцдраматургии, к тому, как это выстраивается. Вот, спасибо большое.
Okay, it's a bit more details about this question. And it's about maybe history of this piece, how it was composed, and maybe you have some links to the history, how it was composed, and maybe something about dance dramaturgy, because it's about gesture, something in this piece.
Well, the story of the piece is easy explained. It's just introducing the person without any music in the beginning, with the blinking of the eyes. That means a person gets into syncing with the piece. So, and then there's the contact of the different persons by looking at each other, and then you have the interaction. Then you get the talking, the Ablinger talking. There's also content, and I made the experience that this is very important for people. For some people, it's even the thing they keep the most in mind. Oh, that's the piece with the talking passages. So, I like that. And then introducing piano playing, and then using piano playing, so that a person can show himself or herself as a pianist, like in a normal piano recital, where the pianist shows how great he or she plays a piece, and here it's my piece. So it's just a normal piano recital experience that is not normal at all. Okay. And how did I make the piece? Actually, it was the fastest composition process I ever had. I'm very slow. So normally I work for a solo piece like easily 3 months. And for this piece, the whole thinking about what I can do took a very long time. But when I had it, it was just 4 weeks to make it, which is very, very fast for me. but even still slow. I don't know. Scriabin made his sonatas in one day.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. Some other questions? Yes, I see someone. Ira, yeah.
Здравствуйте, да, я тоже по-русски спрошу. У меня вопрос о методе композиции и о вдохновляющих личностях. Я сама композитор, но студентка, и когда-то, несколько лет назад, мне тоже нравилось в свои произведения добавлять какие-то темы известных композиторов. И, кстати, однажды там действительно была одного Малера. Просто забавный момент, что об этом было сказано. И в ходе беседы я услышала, что говорили: вот да, я думал об speaking piano. И такой у меня вопрос: а думали ли вы, ну я уверена, вы знакомы с творчеством Бернда Алоиса Циммермана, но вдохновлял ли он вас, потому что он как раз в своей музыке использует очень-очень много всего разного. Спасибо.
Okay, it was a question by Christina. She is a composer too, and she interesting about your inspiring what was it, and she mentioned that she used some notation too, and she used sometime Mahler this adagietta too, and that's why it was just funny. And she wondered about which famous maybe composer or some person was you inspired, and especially about Zimmerman. Maybe it's yeah. Maybe it is maybe something from him music or his ideas maybe.
Which Zimmermann? There are three composers, three famous Zimmermann composers.
Господи.
Bernd Alois Zimmermann.
Какой еще раз? Alois Zimmermann. Alois.
Yeah. Okay. Well, people change, and I have always different inspirations. But Mahler and Beethoven are definitely companions of my whole life. I really adore their music, also Brahms. But I'm also a big fan of cheesy Russian music. Like, I really like Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff and the very early Scriabin. When I play piano, I play the prelude of Scriabin because I really love them. So I'm a big fan of clear music, where the form is very clear and where the composer thinks about something and just expresses it, like Beethoven. He was maybe the first conceptualist composer, I think. Yeah. Brahms also. Mahler is special. Everybody loves Mahler because he was just one of the best. We don't have to speak about it. But I also like cheesy composers who made very easy listening stuff. I'm actually interested in all kinds of music. I also like lift music, for example, the music you can hear when you go up and down in the lift. I also listen to the supermarket music when I go to the supermarket. I go to the fitness studio, and there is the fitness studio techno. And I open my ears everywhere, and sometimes I don't like it, and sometimes I would never quote it, and sometimes I think, oh, it's over the top, it's really bad, and then sometimes I use it. So actually, it's just having open ears, basically. But there was another question.
About Zimmermann, of course, Alois.
Yeah. Bernd Alois Zimmermann. I wrote a lot about him when I made even my final writing work in my studies was about the piano pieces by Zimmermann. Very interesting composer. He tried to open himself to a lot. He had a very difficult life with a lot of doubts. He was not really happy. He was not taken serious by other composers because he was switching. And for those days, this was a bad sign. Oh, he's doing different stuff that can't be good. A good composer always does the same and who is very radical. That was the late 60s, beginning 70s. So Zimmermann was very unhappy. I think he was torn between different worlds. He wanted to make it right for everybody and didn't know what's good for himself, maybe, I don't know. My music has nothing to do with Zimmermann and with Kagel, because always people tell me, oh, your music is very related to Kagel. I don't like Kagel music at all, because I think Kagel has a very bad humor.
Thank you for
It's
telling
very
us.
important that you do good jokes on stage and not the bad jokes and make a difference. It's like techno and house. Sorry for being so direct with this.
We love when you're so direct, actually.
Okay, cool.
It's really good, and it's for me it's important what you say about Kagel, because in Russia it's every time say something. If some performance do something gestures, every time I can hear it's like Kagel. It's instrumental theater. It's instrumental theater.
Yeah.
That's why, and I really don't like this.
Me either. I like very much the early Kagel in the 60s. He made experimental movies. He came as a movie director to Cologne, actually. He was here in my town. But then in the 70s, he started being a composer. And he had the same problem also Zimmermann had. The others didn't take him serious. So he tried to do both at the same time, being a serious composer and jokey. And this didn't work. And instrumental theater, it's the thing he invented, but for me it's not interesting and it's not inspiring. No.
And I don't know, maybe we... yes, just one question again, okay? Just a second.
It's great that there are so many questions.
Yeah,
I like it.
We have many audience here, actually.
Yeah.
Many people.
Oh, I only see dark.
Yeah, it's in the dark
and
light with his headphones.
Yeah, I would love to see the people, but actually I can't see anybody.
Maybe a bit later when we switch on our lights, you can see.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, the question.
Hello, Michael. Thank you for music. Thank you. My question is about process, how you create everything. You have already exact idea in your head, exact idea of picture, exact idea of music, notes. You already have all of this, and then you make it in real, or you create in a process. Maybe you start to make this your performance, and in the process you have ideas with the picture, you have ideas with the notes, music. It's about the process, how you create this.
Yeah. Of course, as everybody, I start with a basic idea and I stick to that idea during the whole process. That's very important. And if I discover that I cannot go on with the idea, I have to restart the piece. And that's what I do sometimes. The piece I'm doing at the moment is a piece for percussion. I started 3 times and then I got stuck. I am always fighting against myself and struggling to get out of my traps, not repeating the same thing I did in the last piece, but maybe taking advantage of the things I did in the last piece and I did not work out enough. So normally I look at my own pieces after the first performances, and then I see things that I didn't realize while composing, and then I see, oh my God, fake playing. It was just an opportunity in that piece. I didn't think so much about it. I can really work with it, and then I make it the main idea of my next piece. That's how I start. And then I'm always fighting with the combination of the visual and the sound layer. I try to work on both at the same time, because if the piece is finished sound-wise and you do a video afterwards, it gets bad. If you have only a visual idea and if you're excited about a video thing you want to do and you don't think about the music, it gets bad as well. So I'm a very quick thinker and talker, and you see I talk a lot. I have to always hold me back to not go too far with one thing. That's very difficult for me. And you can see I am just going stepwise. So I have a starting point. I very often have first part of a piece as everybody, and then I get stuck. Normally my solution is to work backwards. So I have the beginning of a piece, I get stuck, and then I put something before the beginning and make the piece longer in the other direction. And then I work both directions sometimes. Not with key check. Key check was a very clear thing. That was a lucky experience for me. I have pieces where I work for months and I just don't get ahead. And then sometimes there are pieces that are just easy, and some of the easy pieces get good and some of them get not so good. And it's the same with the long working pieces. Sometimes they get good finally, in the end they become very good. And sometimes you work on a piece, you're always unhappy, and the performance makes you also unhappy. That all happens. I'm very sad that I am not like those old composers who could do their pieces in 2 days. So
it's sad for all of us, I think. I want to ask you about, have you ever thought about the piece without any sound, just polyphony of videos maybe, or something like this?
Yes. But I didn't do it yet. Maybe that's my last piece. Then, when there's no complaining about all the fake and no instruments on stage and only walking, actually I really thought about, what about giving the sound to the imagination of the people and we have only the movements? So that's a radical negative of the concert, where you have only the sound and you don't care about the visual part. Good question. If you want to do one, be quick, because one day I will do it.
We have a competition now. Yes, I know.
Okay. I will call you before I do it.
Okay.
Have it all.
Me too. Okay. And have we something else? Yes, in the last, here.
Здравствуйте. В вашей музыке очень много разных контекстов, и показалось, что очень много разных цитат. Например, в первой пьесе как будто бы возникает вот образ концерта Чайковского, может быть, даже рапсодии Листа. Скажите, пожалуйста, вы работаете с каким-то таким постмодернистским контекстом, или же у вас такие микроцитаты, они возникают неосознанно? Или, может быть, это элемент игры, жеста, вот какое-то мимическое такое искусство. Спасибо.
Okay, thank you for question. I think you was a bit late because we talking about this question. It is about quotation. It was about your first piece where maybe was concert by Tchaikovsky or Rhapsody by Brahms or something, and it was a question about how do you connect with postmodernistic style and quotation, something like this.
Yeah. As I said, quotation is a good thing. If people recognize what you quote is also good. If it doesn't change in your composition, it's bad. So your work is to make the quotation a new experience for the people. If you don't manage that, it's just a stolen melody. What did you say about Brahms? You mean the cello piece?
Rhapsody. No?
There's no Rhapsody.
Liszt, by Liszt, maybe. It was no.
No, yes, there's no Liszt in my piece.
No Liszt.
No Liszt. No Brahms and no Liszt.
Okay. It was, I mentioned, when you listen and you don't know, you can imagine what you want.
There's the Haydn Concerto and Rachmaninoff Vocalise and the Swan.
Yeah. Maybe it is too. Okay. Thank you, Michael, for our talking, for being with us, for your works too. And it was a real pleasure for me, and I think for our audience too. And unfortunately, we have to stop here. It's always not enough time for talking. But I hope we can continue sometimes later. And thank you again for CEAM Center about this meeting, about this festival. And of course, I want to say about this festival. It will be on the next week too, and tomorrow will be the great concert with Engage Ensemble, and you can go, and we can meet there. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, and bye-bye to you, Michael. And
thank you very much.
Applause.
If I may say that, I wanted to thank the technicians also for doing a great job in the piece. I forgot that formally. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for the warm welcome, and I wish you a big success for the rest of the festival. Thank you.
Maybe we can some light here, and you can already.
And I can see the people.
The audience, if it's possible. Yeah, something like this. It's all better. And
hello. I can see you.
It's something like this.
Thanks for the great questions. It was a great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
It was very nice. And hopefully we will be soon in a better political situation that I can come to Moscow myself. I wish you the best for a change.
Or we can go in Cologne. It would be great too. Okay, until the next time, I think.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Tatiana, especially to you. Bye.